More and more children in the Democratic Republic of Congo are being born with birth defects. This is happening at a rate that the local doctors have never had to deal with before, and the cause? Green energy.
Humanity is now standing at a crossroads. We must now decide which path we want to take.
In the past few decades, we have become obsessed with clean energy, and some countries have made great progress towards lowering their carbon emission. But this has come at the expense of people from a completely different part of the world, and the effects have been devastating. So the idea for this video first came to me when I randomly stumbled across an article on copperbeltkatangamining.com. The article was titled "Pollution Causing Birth Defects in the Children of DRC Miners." It said, thousands of people in the Democratic Republic of Congo are being exposed to dangerous levels of toxic pollution that is causing birth defects in their children as they mine for cobalt used to make rechargeable batteries for smartphones, laptops, and electric cars, a new medical study has found. This sent me spiraling. I mean, electric cars, they are supposed to be our hope for a clean future. So naturally, I had questions. How much pollution are we talking about? It must be bad if we're seeing birth defects. We've been mining cobalt for centuries now. How did we miss this? How comes I haven't heard about this in the mainstream media? What even is cobalt? Where is this study? And how many other studies have come to the same conclusion? Let's start with what is cobalt. Cobalt is a chemical element with a symbol Co. It's found in the Earth's crust, but only in a chemically combined form. Cobalt has an interesting history in art. It goes as far back as ancient Egypt and the Ming Dynasty in China. Its prominence in art is due to its rich blue pigmentation, which was used to embellish pieces at the time. We didn't start exploring its metallic or electric abilities until after it was first isolated in the 1800s. The Democratic Republic of Congo has been an area of intense mining for centuries. In the colonial period, the mining of copper, cobalt, and uranium represented one of Belgian Congo's main sources of revenue. After Congo's independence in 1960, mining activities and metal processing continued at a steady pace. The uses of cobalt exploded at the turn of the century. From commercial use to military application, cobalt has proven to be crucial to the advancement of our technological world. This technological advancement has led to a huge increase in mining activities in the Democratic Republic of Congo, largely because of the mining of copper, cobalt, and other metals required for the industrial development of fast-growing Asian economies, and lithium-ion batteries used in laptops, smartphones, and electric cars. And according to the European Commission, we should expect this to grow exponentially. They published a report in 2018 stating the expansion of the electric vehicle market globally and in the EU will increase exponentially the demand for cobalt in the next decade. Cobalt supply has an issue of concentration and risk of disruption as it is mainly produced in the Democratic Republic of Congo and China. This is a projection of the cobalt demands for the production of electric vehicles in Europe alone. This publication is trying to find an alternative to cobalt in the production of electric vehicles, but the reason for the shift away from cobalt isn't pollution or the harm it's causing to the people living near the mines. Its only concern is that there's a shortage of cobalt mines based in Europe, which means that Europe would have to rely on other parts of the world for the supply of cobalt as the demand for electric vehicles goes up. And this is what is concerning. The only time, in fact, that this report mentions pollution is in reference to the pollution prevention legislations that have been created for the sole purpose of lowering carbon emissions. But according to this report, the legislations will only push the demands for cobalt even higher in the future. You know, I have noticed a lot of finger wagging in the media recently from certain countries who see themselves as morally superior to others, just because they've managed to lower their carbon pollution, even though it's come at the cost of mineral pollution. I guess not all pollution is created equal, right? There's an interesting report by IPIS that points to this exact problem, stating the pollution resulting from the energy we use is not reduced through clean energy. It is instead displaced from the countries where the end products are used to the countries where the necessary resources are mined. Furthermore, Congolese doctors and academics have demonstrated linkages between cobalt mining activities and cases of malformations and birth defects in DRC. These environmental and human costs are often neglected in the clean energy narrative. In the dominating narrative, the sole solution to climate change seems to be an increased supply of critical minerals. Well, I guess that kind of answers my question regarding the mainstream media's lack of coverage on this issue. If we have established that the solution to our pollution problems is increasing the supply of minerals, then how can we point out the pollution problems that increasing the supply of minerals will cause? I suppose they aren't truly prepared to ponder the paradoxical pollution problems that plague our planet. But this leads me to my next question. How many studies have linked cobalt mining in the DRC to birth defects? 1. I was only able to find 1. We simply haven't paid enough attention to the region or the industry, and the study that first brought this issue to light acknowledged this by stating, "To our knowledge, this is the first study of the effects of mining-related pollution on newborns in sub-Saharan Africa," which again points to the human and environmental neglect issues surrounding clean energy, especially when you consider that before this study, there was evidence to suggest links between birth defects and mineral and metal pollution. For example, this study conducted in China in 2014 found that maternal exposure to lead during pregnancy has been associated with congenital abnormality among offspring, including cardiac malformations. This was the study that triggered the investigation into the issues in the DRC, that and the growing number of children born with birth defects. The study conducted in the DRC enrolled 138 cases with visible external malformations and 108 normal controls over a period of 2 years. Mothers were interviewed about potentially relevant exposures, including their partners' jobs. Various trace metals were measured in the maternal urine, maternal blood, umbilical cord blood, placenta tissue, and the surface dusts at home. The study found that paternal mining jobs, maternal paid jobs, and prenatal magnesium and zinc concentrations were associated with congenital malformations. I know this is a small study and there are other factors that could lead to birth defects, but outside of this study, there's been 2 cases of holoprosencephaly reported in 2021 in the same area with high levels of mining-related pollution. Both fathers of these newborns had mining-related jobs, and the doctors who published the report stated, "This has to lead us to hypothesize under reserve that exposure to mining, ionizing irradiations, and anti-malarial drugs may lead to the occurrence of HPE." The doctors also advised that further studies should focus on the relationship between mining exposition and related jobs and the occurrence of rare malformations. The most concerning thing about these 2 specific cases is how rare yet similar the malformations are to those seen in Fallujah after the United States government used depleted uranium on the civilian population during the Iraq War. The people in Katanga have seen a decline in their quality of life, which is extremely disappointing considering their quality of life wasn't high to begin with. The pollution problems aren't just affecting the people working in the mines, it's everywhere. It's affecting water sources and agriculture.
No fish here.
No fish here? Why?
Because the river has been polluted and all fish has died.
I'm not saying all of this to say that we should stop mining entirely. I think that green energy is still our hope for a clean future. However, I think we need to redefine what constitutes green or clean energy. Provisions need to be made for people who live near the mines or work in the mines. Perhaps we need to think about maybe not mining in residential areas so we can reduce the number of people being exposed to the high levels of mineral pollution. An article published by the IPIS in 2021 discussed this very issue, but notice what they say towards the end as they conclude. The EU is increasingly becoming aware of its dependency risks and is taking action to secure its supply. This is exemplified by the recently proposed EU battery regulation, which aims to decrease the EU's dependency on China in order to become more self-reliant. The proposed regulation aims to create a circular and sustainable battery supply chain and includes a provision on environmental and human rights due diligence. So it seems like the issue is on the agenda, but at the same time it kind of feels like it's on the sidelines. But all we can do is hope. I will be covering more topics to do with green energy in the future, so if you have any suggestions, drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, until next time, bye bye.